Welcome to the Insights Unlocked podcast. I'm Nathan Isaacs, Senior Manager for Content Production at UserTesting. And joining us today as host is Michelle Engel, UserTesting's Chief Product Officer. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here.
And our guest today is Matt Harrell, Co-founder and Vice President of Customer Experience at Givebacks, a platform that enables nonprofits to run their organization and people to support the causes they care about through online giving and everyday purchases. With over 20 years of experience in software development, product management, and customer experience, Matt has a passion for building innovative products that solve real problems and exceed customer expectations. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thank you, Nathan. Very, very happy to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
Awesome. Well, Matt, thank you for joining us. I am incredibly excited to talk to you today about your experience at Givebacks, turning user research into actionable insights. So before we dive into your approach, could you share a bit about your journey in customer experience and what sparked your passion for this field?
Yes, thanks, Michelle. Yeah, my passion really lies in the intersection between product and customer experience. I started off my very early career as a software developer and really had an affinity for everything that's UX and user experience and all the user-centered design principles and that sort of thing. And then after founding Givebacks, as many other small startups experience, we had a lot of ups and downs and growing pains and various things like that. So found myself kind of going to other parts of the business that needed my help. So went over to and actually founded or started up our customer success function at Givebacks, and then really professionalized our customer support team and operations here. So found myself at that time as we were growing really, really close with our customers again. And so that was just kind of an eye-opening moment for me, really talking to them on a day-to-day basis, seeing the problems that were coming in. And so as we've grown now, I'm finding myself back into a role where I'm really focusing on the user experience again. And we're able to professionalize these CX functions, like doing more user testing, customer interviews, that sort of thing. And I'm just really enjoying it. It's been great to even just impact our product development lifecycle with some of these CX initiatives. So yeah, that's really where I am now, is really focusing on everything CX and where we meet up with the product team. Yeah.
I love it. I have firmly believed through my career, you really can't separate product from the customer experience and then actually show up and deliver for your customers. It's sort of one integrated thing. So using a customer-centric approach makes total sense, since for customers, the product is usually the experience. So speaking of your passion for UX, can you walk us through how you identify and prioritize what you want to learn when you run a user research session?
Yeah, it really depends on where we're at with a particular product or initiative. Sometimes we're thinking about a new product or a brand new feature or something like that, a big feature. And so I'll be working with the executive team or maybe product leaders, and we're at that point really trying to inform a business objective. We're trying to understand maybe what customers pain points are, what their unmet needs are. And so we're doing some research on that front. Other times it's specific little things about a product that we're building, a feature we're building, where it's an existing product line and we want to understand, okay, well, we've got this new thing. What how do customers interact with this? Does the information architecture make sense? Do these particular flows work? That sort of thing. So, and then really what we've done over the past couple of years now is we have quarterly OKRs. And so we know in our OKRs, like, okay, we're going to be focusing on this initiative, this product initiative. And I've gotten to a point where I'll break out team objectives from that. And so we'll say, okay, well, listen, we want to hit this date with this particular product improvement. And so we'll back into that and say, we need to do, you're probably going to need to do some some UX research here, and I'll get with the particular product team that's working on that and kind of break out what we want to research, and I'll actually tie it to an OKR. So, at that point, it's prioritized because if there's any, and there's a lot of research requests that come in, as you can imagine, but we'll really focus on the ones that are tied to OKRs. Yeah.
Yeah, I really think that tying to OKRs is critical in that. I hear from our customers all the time that they have so many requests coming in.
Yeah.
They're constantly having to say no and prioritize where their team is spending time. And, scaling is really important for them and finding ways to move fast so they can be a part of the business and help the business. And so it's great. There's no one size fits all recipe, but I think tying to OKRs is a great sort of best practice of how to help prioritize your resources and how to make sure you're spending those precious hours on time that's going to align to where the business is trying to drive. So
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
Great advice.
Absolutely. There's so much testing that could be done. Yeah.
And I've heard that you have talked about how you share the research back out, and that results and recommendations deck is sort of crucial for that. Could you talk about some of the key elements that go into how you take those results and really drive it back into the organization?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing that I have found is all the work you need to do before the research, right? So it's really about getting alignment on what the heck you're trying to test. I've just found early on in some of these things that one particular stakeholder thinks that you're testing this, and another one thinks you're testing that, and they're like, well, what about this? Well, we didn't test that. That wasn't core. So I'll spend time writing up a test plan. Well, we'll say, okay, here's the objective. Here's what the things, here's what we want to test. Here's what we want to know. And then I'll share that out. I don't, go into any tools or write any actual scripts or testing questions or anything until everyone's aligned on like, yes, these are the 7 things that we really want to find out. And then at that point, it's actually pretty easy. It fills in fill in the holes, right? So we said we wanted to find out these 7 things. What were the results, right? And then at that point, I'll create a deck, and it's pretty standard now. I'll set up the testing objectives and kind of explain to people what we're doing and then what we're testing, and then using user testing, it makes it easy, of course. Plug, but I will have the questions. I'll have the results of those questions from the testers and charts, and then I'll always put in some like I always want them to type out their responses. I like that too, because it's one thing to have them think out loud and do that kind of testing, but asking specific questions and getting them to type the answers in, then in that recommendations and insights deck, you're able to see, highlight things. See that the user actually typed this in and said this. And so people have some pretty charts to look at that are easy, and then some actual customer comments. And then I'll always try to create a highlight reel as well, which is really effective when people say, did they really say, yeah, here's the highlight reel, right? So you can actually go in and look at them and say, this is what they were doing. You can see that they were confused. They're talking out loud. They may not have typed all that out, but here's the highlight reel for that. And then, yeah, I mean, everything that comes out of that, I'll typically go through that and spend, hours watching all the highlight reels, putting those things in. But then at the end, I'll have, okay, observations, right? So clearly people were confused here, or, they did not take this action that we thought they would take here. And I'll point that out to make it abundantly clear, like these were my observations. And then I'll have recommendations on what I would think would be, potential solutions or more research that we need based upon what we're seeing there. And so that deck has the same flow every time. It's the setup, it's the testing objectives, the results of those things. What did we test? My observations, and then yeah, recommendations based on that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that just the sharing out of results is so critical to sort of that driving those impactful changes and those insights. And as much as you put in charts and data, I have always found that those videos are just pure gold, that people will question, exactly like you said, did they really say that? Or are you sure you interpreted it? And then, playing those videos is like the easiest way to convince people of what you're talking about and get that buy-in. So
Absolutely.
thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So then once you have that deck prepared, what strategies do you use to effectively sort of communicate your findings and recommendations, especially to those maybe outside your process that you need to sort of share it with?
Yeah. So one of the things I love to do is I put everything in Google Slides. And what I like about Google Slides is when you share that out, you can see from Google activity, like who's viewed the thing, right? So I say that because I'm sure, like a lot of the researchers, you'll put together an insights deck or whatever, and you share it out, and you're kind of like, did anybody look at that, right? So I'll always try to get it out, and I'll typically share it first in the product channel on Slack, and just say, hey, look, here's the results. And then I'll follow up specifically, give people kind of some time to marinate on it, and then I'll schedule time specifically with the designer and the PM on that particular function and go through that with them in detail, talk to them about my recommendations, um, and then typically we'll put it into uh, other teams that are adjacent to that. If there's for our customer success managers and they're wondering about a particular feature coming out, I'll share it with them too, just to kind of get that. Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying there. I can see how that would be confusing. Knowing some of my clients and customers, that makes sense. So I'll do that as well. So really, it's just that. It's just getting it out in a deck, and sharing it through Slack and following up with folks that are going to be impacted by it, that might have reactions to it. But then, yeah, making sure the designer and PM sort of get it, and you go, do you agree? Do you not? Are we going to do anything about this? So yeah.
Yeah, makes total sense getting buy-in from all the key players, especially the product side and all the other partners who, play a role in getting the change prioritized and making it happen. So,
Yeah, and some of them are small, right?
thank
Some
you.
of them are like, oh, well, I think we should change the heading here because whatever, or I don't think this button afforded clicking. We really need to maybe change the design on it. And then others might be like, this, guys, I really feel like we're going in the wrong direction here. And so, if that's the case, and I really feel passionate about it, then we'll pull in, our VP of engineering. We'll pull in maybe our COO and president, and really talk through things, because from a product strategy or product vision, we're thinking like, okay, this Matt's actually suggesting a very different thing that we've talked about. So most of the time, it's typically pretty small though. So yeah.
Yeah, but it's really all about, saving money and saving resources. Sometimes those small changes can have a huge impact
Oh
on
yeah.
whether it's the customer's flow or how many donations you receive, or lots of different ways that it can have a huge impact if you make it easier on the customer. And then, like all companies, you have tight resources. You don't want to spend time building something that isn't meeting the need or won't be used.
Yeah,
So
and obviously, give backs, because that's right. That's a lot of our testing, is that donor flow, and setting up campaigns, and where are they getting frustrated, and is there any friction in that checkout process, and all that good stuff. So yeah, you're right.
yeah, I know givebacks and I know checkout flows pretty well. I do a lot of online shopping. So yeah, when it's frustrating, you are quick to go somewhere
Well, then I
else
could
and
probably
find
get you to
another.
run, to be a tester for some of our stuff, Michelle.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Um, cool. Well, in your recent article called Five Signs Your Product Experience Platform is in Need of Governance, you discuss the dangers of inconsistent design and messaging in digital adoption tools. So, how do you implement governance strategies to ensure that your product's user experience remains sort of cohesive and consistent across all the different teams and touch points with your customers?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, governance has been a relatively new thing for us as well. I've been a long time user of Pendo, and so um, there were seasons early on in our Pendo implementation, for example, where gosh, we're just killing our customers with pop-ups, and it kind of got out of hand with well, I didn't know someone was launching that guide, or whatever it might be. And so, and sometimes they were designed differently, they looked differently. And then, we kind of got past that. And about a year ago, we updated our entire design component library. And then at that point, I went in and redesigned the templates and the themes and all that good stuff within Pendo, so that we know, okay, if we're going to do a tooltip, it needs to look like this. If we're going to do a guide, a stepped guide, we want it to look like this. And so uh, most of my world of governance has been really in that world, is these digital adoption tools that we're using. Um, but then as the use of those tools grow and your team grows, you're naming things differently. You can't find things when you log into these platforms. They're not organized. And so it's just really important that you have a common nomenclature and themes that are set up to really make sure that whatever you're building and deploying is consistent. But also, as we've grown, we're impacting more people, right? So we want multiple people to sign off on a guide. I mean, we really try to treat a new guide as if just as important as doing a new deployment. If we're deploying, doing a new release, we've got a team around that. We're talking about cross-functional collaboration to make sure that everyone's ready for this. And I'm starting to treat new in-app guides and things like that with the same level of scrutiny, to say, okay, does everyone understand this thing is going live? I'll run it by the designer. Does this, look like, does this feel native to you, and all that good stuff. So that's a lot of what I think about when I think about governance in our case.
Makes sense. Fun fact number one is that UserTesting uses Pendo as well. Fun fact number two for the audience is that Matt and I are both located in the same place in the sort of Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area of North Carolina, which is also where Pendo is located. So I don't know about you, but since Pendo was created locally, we have been using them in my role for, gosh, almost 12 years, I think. So
Oh
it's
yeah,
been a long
you
time.
got me beat. I'm about 6 years. Actually, and I didn't even realize UserTesting had a local team here, and we're UserTesting customers as well. And so I was down to Pendo. I'm about 3 miles away from their headquarters downtown. And so I went to the meetup a few weeks ago, and there were a couple gentlemen there from UserTesting,
Yeah.
and I had a great time meeting with
Yeah, it's a great
them.
partnership.
Yeah. So that was great. I
Yeah.
love being downtown there. They've got a great spot. So yeah.
Yeah, and Pendo is a great tool for understanding your product metrics at scale. So, okay, so let's talk about another article that you wrote, which was called Building a Voice of Customer Report. And in it, you mentioned that VOC reporting acts as a bridge between raw feedback and tangible business outcomes. So can you tell us more about what is a voice of customer report for those who might not be aware, and maybe share an example of how regular VOC reporting led to a significant product or marketing decision at Givebacks?
Yeah. Yeah. So the voice of customer report that we build is a hodgepodge of different uh, sources. We'll include in this deck things from NPS scores and comments, various CSAT scores and comments. We'll include trends in customer support. We'll include trends and activity from customer success meetings. Sometimes we include product data in there as well. And really, the point of it is to, in my mind, is to include non-customer facing teams in this report, and have them digest that report. I'd love to see our non-customer facing teams actually talk with customers more. It's something we're actually working on right now. Is actually maybe, I hate to say the word democratize user research, but getting them to talk to customers more. But in the report, it's just like, yeah, like what are NPS score trends, and what are people saying about this, and what's going on in customer support. And it's typically pretty text heavy. I mean, it's comments directly from customers. And like I said, the point is just to to have people understand what the pulse is on the customer. And then I deliver that. I try to deliver it bi-weekly. So every other week, there's a report coming out, and yeah, anyone in the company can read it. I post it on the company channel, but really try to deliver it to developers' hands, the product team, yeah, anyone non customer facing. So that's my version of a voice of customer report. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really about just sharing that voice so that you're building empathy across the organization for what your customers experience and see, and yeah, helping everyone kind of get that true understanding of the customer and their challenges. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing
Yeah,
that.
and I even failed to mention, of course, if we've done a significant amount of research, during that week or the previous 2 weeks, I'll include that as well. Not maybe not the whole
Mm.
deck, but I'll put snippets in there of some of the findings we found in some maybe we've done 10 in-depth customer interviews, and I'll include comments from that, things like that. So yeah, it's good. It's helpful.
Yeah, it's a great way to share that common understanding.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I have loved the conversation. Before we go, how does someone learn more about you and givebacks and all the amazing work that you do?
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. I'm on LinkedIn, pretty active, and you can find me at LinkedIn/Matt Harrell. And then givebacks is just, yeah, go to givebacks.com. If you're not affiliated with a nonprofit cause that's on there, you can download the app and try to find a cause that you can support through everyday shopping. That's great. And then if your cause or nonprofit already uses it, you may be familiar. But yeah, just visit givebacks.com.
Yeah, such an amazing mission. So it's great.
Thanks, Michelle.
Again, thank you so much. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.